So we are discussing about different protocols which are used to provide the security at the transport layer. So particularly the security at the transport layer is provided by the secure socket layer, and at the security, the standard which is used to provide security is also called as transport layer security. So we discuss different protocols, that what are the protocols which are used to use at this layer, like for example SSL handshake cipher chain protocol, and some other protocols like SSL alert and SSL record protocol. So these are the different protocols which are working at this architecture, and we are providing the security at this layer. So whenever we provide the security at this layer, we are required some type of connections, as we are discussing. Like for example, uh, we are making a security for the web application, and web application involve the web browser and the web server. And when we connect the web browser to the web server, so which protocol is used to provide secure connection between a client and server, or a system to other system having similar properties, for example. So that is a peer-to-peer system or peer-to-peer model. So we discuss both the methods, that how we can provide the functionality, or how we are providing the security for these different protocols, for this layer, or for connecting the client to the server. So they are the different protocols are used as we are discussing. So there's a protocol which is used to provide the encryption and the integrity at this layer, is called as the SSL record protocol. So this is providing some functionalities at this layer, like for example, if we are providing the confidentiality to the data, or if we are providing the integrity to the data. So we are providing these different functionalities using different protocols. Like for example, at this layer, like other encryption methods for confidentiality, this is also using some encryption methods like semantic encryption, which is particularly used by the handshake protocol, and it is using different protocols like DS, 3DS, AES, or some other algorithms which are used for the semantic encryption algorithm, for semantic encryption. And it also provides the integrity to the data, and integrity to the data that is provided at this layer using the make protocol or HMake protocol, and that is aided to the data to provide the integrity to the data. So particularly SSL protocol, SSL record protocol is providing confidentiality as well as integrity to the data. And we know about these different protocols. We know about these different algorithms which are used to provide the confidentiality, and which are used to provide integrity at different, you can say, methods, which are used in different security, for secure different security purposes. And there's also another type of protocol which is used to provide some functionality, like for example, uh, if any message is actually has been sent in, or if any message is in pending state. So it defines the state for that. For example, if any message is in pending state, is for example is specify its states in terms of, for example, you can say number, for example, or digit, for example, or one, for example. If it has been sent it, so it states about zero about that, for example, it has been sent it. So it says the state, or it says the state of the particular message which has been sent it, or which is in the pending state. So we will also discuss then that how that this protocol is working to provide the state of the message, either the message has been sent it, or the message is in the pending state. And then we have some other protocol which is used to provide some alert to the, you can say, data, for example, or to the application, for example, if any of the error occurs in some data in an application, for example. And there are the different types of alerts which are given by an application, for example. Some of the errors could be the warnings, or some of the errors could be the fatal errors, or some of the errors, like for example, unexpected message, or bad record make, or decompression failure, or handshake failure, or illegal parameter, or some notifications related to the certificate, for example, which is used to verify a particular user, for example, like no certificate, bait certificate, or unsupported certificate. Or for example, if any of the certificate, if it runs off the time, or for example, it's expired, it should be renewed, for example, some certificate is unverified, for example, it should be verified. So it's working like this. So they are the different, you can say, types of alerts or notifications are done at this layer to provide different, you can say, uh, functionally security related functions, so that an application or the system should be given an information or given a notification about any error occurs in the data, or any error occurs in the system, for example, or network, for example. So he should be provided or notified, so that that should be fixed in some methods. So in this way, we have a number of protocols are working at this layer. So we will discuss in detail now some other protocols, like for example, which is used to provide a connection between client and server. Like for example, here is a SSL handshake protocol, the secure socket layer handshake protocol, which is used to provide the connection between client and the server. So it is mainly used to authenticate the client to the server, or server to the client. So the different, you can say, messages are exchanged between the client and server. Like for example, they are used they are using encryption methods. They are using make algorithms to provide a secure connection between client and server, and the keys which are used to which are used to encrypt the data, and which are used to decrypt the data. So they come in the different phases, like for example, establishing a security capabilities, and server authentication and key exchange, and the client authentication and key exchange, and then it closes that connection. So in this way, they are the different phases are used, which are used to provide a connection between client and server. Now, what are these different methods which are used to provide the connection between client and server? For example, here, this figure further explain about this, that how different functions are provided here. Like for example, here, if a client want to send a connection, establish a connection to the server, so he will send a hello message to the server, and then server acknowledges about that hello message with a hello message. So in this way, after sending this message, then the server sends a certificate which contains, for example, a public key to verify that uh, whenever any data will come from a server, so client can verify this with the certificates, so that it will authenticate that the data is coming from a legitimate user. And then after that, the key will be exchanged, the key that is used by you can say client to encrypt the data which is sent it by the server. For example, it could be a public key which could be sent it by a server to the client, so that a server the client will encrypt the message with that key, and it will be also verified with a certificate that is sent it by the server. And then it can send the data to the server. So in this way, it will send again after sending the, because here the client authenticates the server and server also authenticates the client. So both way authentication is provided. So in this way, the server will also request about the certificate from the client, and then the server will send a certificate to the client will send the certificate to the server to authenticate or to verify that the data, so that the server can verify that the data or the message is coming from authenticated user. After sending the certificate, it will exchange its key to the server. For example, it could be a public key that could be used by a server to encrypt the message, and then the client contains keeps a private key for that. So if any message has been sent it to the client, so it will decrypt that message with the help of the private key, for example, and then it will verify a certificate which has been sent it by the server. Then after that, it will change the state for the change cipher state, that either the message has been sent it or message is in pending state, and then it closes the connection. Then after that, the server also specify the state of its different messages which are being sent or which are in pending. Then it closes the connection. So in this way, there are the different messages which are exchanged between a client and server in order to provide the connection. So once the connection, a secure connection, which is authenticated mutually by the client and the server, client authenticates the server and server authenticates the client. So after that, the messages, different messages can be securely exchanged between the client and server. So in this way, before sending the different messages, so it is required to authenticate the different systems to each other. Like for example, if there's a client server model, so client should authenticate to the server and the server also authenticate to the client, so that the other messages which are sent by the client and server between each other, so that should be securely sent to authorized user, that these are the authorized user and these are the authenticated users. Now they can send the messages to each other. So in this way, we have different methods which are used to provide the connection between different systems like client server. So if you have any question up to now, then you can also ask. The question is being asked that SSL is, we say that SSL is the backbone for the providing security in web. So actually, the SSL or secure socket layer is the protocol which is providing the security at the web, at the transport layer, on where the web applications are working. That's why we say that it's a important protocol which is used to provide the security between the client and the server. Yes. So actually, we say that the secured socket layer or secured socket uh, architecture. You are asking about that. Uh, uh, the handshake protocol can be used with the IP protocol. So actually, this protocol is related to the secure socket layer, and the secure socket layer is working at the transport layer. So that's why we say that this type of security, this type of protocols are working at the transport layer, and they are using the TCP connection or TCP protocol to provide the connection between the client and the server. And as far as the IP protocol is concerned, so IP is working as at the network layer. and this protocol is working at the transport layer. So that's why we say that it's a type of protocol which is used to provide the security or authentication at the transport layer. So before sending the messages between the client and the server, the handshake protocol is used to provide the authentication between the client and the server. Yes, is there any other question? Any other question? Okay, so we are discussing about different protocols which are working to at the transport layer, or which are working at the, we can say, uh, attached with the TCP layer. You are asking that the record protocol is only responsible for authentication and integration. Actually, they are the different functions which are provided by the record protocol. We will discuss them. uh, Basically it provides, you can say, confidentiality and integrity to the data. So when we are using this protocol, it provides confidentiality and integrity to the data. So that's why we say that it's used for encryption and for authentication, because it is providing the confidentiality as well as the integrity to the data. So through the confidentiality, we can provide the encryption, and through the integrity, we can provide the authentication, as well as integrating the data, that either that particular data is has been changed or not. So that's these functions are provided at the record protocol. So that's why we can say that the record protocol can uh, uh, SSL record protocol can provide encryption to the data, as well as it can provide the message integrity to the data, or it can provide the integrity to the data or authentication to the data. And then we are discussing about the, you can say, security layer that is working at the transport layer, and that is also called the transport layer security. So why we say that it's a transport layer security, because it's working at the transport layer, and it is working with a protocol like SSL layer, or SSL secure socket protocol. So it is also called a secure socket layer. So it comes in different versions, for example, like version 1, 2, or 3. And it is also providing some other functions, like it's providing different functions of, you can say, authenticating the data or message integrity to the data, or it also provides some other functions, like as we discussed, like for example, different certificates which are negotiated between the client and the server. So it's also providing these functions. So it's providing the different functions which are similar to the secure socket layer, and that's why we say that this standard is also called the transport layer security, because it's providing these different functions at the transport layer. So whenever we are discussing about these different functions which are provided to uh, to perform different functions at the transport layer, so we say that the transport layer is the layer where the web applications are working, and the different functions are used to provide the connections between web applications, and in order to provide the secure connection between you can say web application between a client and the server, we are required to provide this through different layers, through different functions. Like for example, a layer is made like SSL layer or secure socket layer. So that is also called as a transport layer security, where we are providing different security functions. So we have these different functions which are provided at the transport layer using SSL function, and that is also can be standardized like transport layer security, because it's working at the transport layer and providing the security at the transport layer. So that's why we say that it's a transport layer security. And then we have some other functions are secure functions, which are provided at this layer, like they are called as secure electronic transactions. So they are provided to give some secure functions to different applications, uh, which are used in the system. Like for example, different credit cards like Mastercards and Visa cards. So they are using this type of security, and uh, they are encrypting the data, and they are authenticating each other. Like for example, if any user is authenticated to the system or to the application using this type of method, and it also uses some certificates to verify a particular user. Like for example, it can use a X.509 certificate with different versions like version 3. So it can use that particular certificate in order to authenticate a user to other user. So in order to securely send the data, or securely you can say perform different transactions used by the different credit cards like Mastercards or Visa cards or some other cards. So they use some sort of you can say method that is called a secure electronic transaction, which is used to provide a secure transactions between different cards in the system. For example, which is used to provide the connection between a user. So any secure transaction is done between a user and an application or a system, for example, like ATM or some other systems. So then this type of protocol or this type of methods is used to provide the secure connection between these applications. Now, what are the different components of this type of method? Like, for example, there's a card holder, for example, which have a particular card. For example, it is going to access some application, for example, some, for example, it's buying something, it performs it doing some transaction, then using internet, for example. Then it could, or for example, uh, uh, on some shop there's a device to scan the card and to perform some transaction. So it is also connected with the internet, and then after that it could be connected to some gateway which is used to verify a particular card, for example, our user which is using that particular card, and that is acquired for you can say system, or where it the particular card is verified. Then after it has been paid to particular you can say user, so it comes, there's a payment network. So it verifies the user, then uh, it it pays for particular you can say transaction. Then that would be issued, a certificate would be issued by a certification authority or a system to verify a particular user, that is used to verify between a user and between a system which is going to perform this transaction. So in this way, this type of architecture is used for the, for example, can we, if a person is using some credit card, for example, to perform transaction on internet, for example, or it's going on some shop to do some shopping and uh, use that card. So then it would be connected with the internet. Then there would be a system that is used to verify that particular user, and then after verifying that particular user, the particular verification certificate would be issued to by a system. Then after that, if it is authenticated user, then it will pay for that particular user for something, and then it would be a verified transaction or authenticated transaction, or we say it would be a secure transaction, which is used by the user and sub application. For example, here, what are the different steps are used to do this task? Like, for example, uh, the secure electronic transaction consists of number of steps. For example, customer or a user, for example, opens an account, and after that, it will be verified by a particular system, and then it will receive a particular certificate from that system. And after that, for example, if it's actually shopping on some shop, for example, then also, for example, that device which is at some shop, it will receive, it will save its certificate to the particular user. That particular user, after receiving that certificate, he can do particular transaction, for example, on that device. And then after that, it will, if when the user receives the certificate, now he's able to order something or to do some transaction, and then the customer or the user will order something. And after that, the particular device which is on some shop, so it will verify that particular user, and it will send a particular payment to the organization that is having that is issuing that particular card, and that is going to pay particular, you can say, shop, for example, for that user or for that customer, for example. And then the particular device or particular device which is at particular shop, so it will authorize, you can say, particular payment and confirm particular order